You know what that sound means? It's another episode of Game for a Movie where we ask, are you game for a movie? My name is Mike. I will be your host this evening. I have probably the worst movie of 2025 so far ever completed. And a lot of you, I've been pushing this off. This came out a week ago and I knew it was going to be bad. I wish I would have done it sooner because now I'm like the last one to do a report on it. But, you know, that's just the way things are. I am covering War of the Worlds from 2025. First, we're going to talk about what we are drinking. Today, I've got from Founders, it is the All Day West Coast IPA. I accidentally got the mix and match pack of the All Day IPAs, and it actually isn't that bad. I was hoping for just the All Day IPA. West Coast, pretty good. There's a grapefruit one in there that wasn't bad, and then there's a lemon lime one. That one's a little iffy. But overall, this is a fine pack of beer. Not too upset about drinking this right now. Okay, I wanted to get that out of the way early because this movie's terrible and really bad. And I want to save you from yourself. For no reason whatsoever should you watch this movie. However, I'm going to talk about all of it so you don't have to watch it. So I hope you guys enjoy the fact that I'm going to talk about definitely the worst movie of 2025 so far. I can't think of a single one that is worse. It is just trash. So War of the Worlds 2025, we've got Ice Cube, we've got Eva Longoria, we've got Clark Gregg and Michael O'Neill. After that, it definitely goes a little more downhill. We've got Amon Benson, we've got Henry Hunter Hall, and we've got Devin Bostic. Those are probably the main characters that we're going to focus on. This movie was directed by Rich Lee. Rich Lee is pretty much a visual effects director. This is the first real movie that I've seen that he actually directed. A lot of what he has done up until this point, directing-wise, has been music videos. A lot of Lana Del Rey, some Eminem, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Not the best pedigree to start. And then, on top of that, we've got the writers for this thing. The first writer we got is Kenny Gold. He has 2 real projects to his name for writing. And then we've got Mark Hyman. Mark Hyman has a little more pedigree, but not that much. He wrote Osmosis Jones, The Perfect Score. He wrote the Meet the Fockers. He was a collaborating writer on How to Train Your Dragon. That was in 2010, How to Train Your Dragon. And after that, the next 2 projects were Show Dogs and War of the Worlds. So Mark Hyman used to be a pretty decent writer. He's written a couple of things that you may have seen and everything like that. I happen to know as a kid, I used to love The Perfect Score. It's gone downhill for him since. When I first looked at this movie, it was a Rotten Tomatoes score of 0 critic score and 12% audience score. This is in the very beginning. It is 3% critic score right this second. And because of what I'm going to call a few false reviews, is at 22% audience score. And you know how I know these are false reviews? Here is one 5-star review I found. This is a once-in-a-generation type movie. I laughed, I cried, I re-upped my Amazon Prime subscription because it's up to all of us to do our part to keep America safe from the tripods. That is one of the many reviews I can go into that gave this movie 5 stars. And this is what makes it tough when you've got a truly bad stinker on your hands. I had the same problem with Madam Web because Madam Web is up to a 53% audience score, even though I know it's terrible. You just don't know because there's a lot of people that are going to do this prank kind of thing to rate it 5 stars. I don't know what they get from it. I think they're just being trolls. Maybe they're getting somebody else to watch it because they gave it such a high rating. Who knows? But a lot of these 5-star reviews, you can tell, are pretty bad. There was another one that I saw a couple days ago that was 5 stars. Ice Cube paid me to release this review. So that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with. It's still only a 22% audience score, but it's up from 12% when I originally saw this movie. So take with it what you will. So to save you from watching it, let me go through all of the details of this movie. We start in Will Radford is our main character. He is played by Ice Cube. He logs into his computer. He works for DHS, and he logged in about like a minute ago, and now he can just pick up access feeds of everything, including threat levels for big buildings. And this automatically got me like to a hot start because he sees like the White House and it's like threat level medium, no problem. But then he gets to the FBI building and it's on high alert, and he just kind of glosses over it. And no big deal, just meh, it's fine. He gets a call from Dr. Sandra Salas. Dr. Sandra Salas works at NASA and is played by Eva Longoria. And she has sent a bunch of videos of like these storms that are happening that are acting up, and basically is like, what do you got on this, Will? And he goes, oh, I watch people, not weather. And one of those people that he is watching is a woman named Faith. And he also was chasing after a character known as the Disruptor. The Disruptor we see through a YouTube video, like a live stream, that he is going to reveal the Goliath program data. And we don't know what the Goliath program is. We just know the Disruptor has it and that Will is kind of keeping an eye on it. And so he calls Faith to see how she's doing. We learn that she is pregnant and that the reason he calls her is because she goes to a coffee shop and gets a muffin. And he calls her and says, a muffin? A muffin? Really? There's hard-boiled eggs, like right there. You could have gotten those. And she's just like, whatever, Dad. It's got calcium. I'm fine. And he goes and says, no, you don't have any calcium in your fridge. He has a monitor in her fridge. This is just like the tip of the iceberg of some of the crazy things he does. So he is like paranoid dad. He wants to watch over everybody and like know everything about them at all times. And it's kind of creepy, honestly. It's a little weird, the fact that he's following Faith. He has a camera set up in her refrigerator and is able to like monitor all the stuff she has in there. And it goes with the theme of this movie, which, spoilers kind of, the theme is privacy good, government spying on everything bad. And that really is it. That is the like theme for this movie. This is the point they wanted to get across. And I'm not just saying like it in these base terms. It is ham-fisted that it is going to beat you over the head with privacy good, spying by the government bad. And Faith is not the only kid that he has an update on. He also gets an update on Dave. Dave is his son that has just spent $248 on a video game. And his son is like a professional video game player. Like, this is his job. But of course, Will is that dad that just doesn't understand that video games can be a job, and was talking about like how he spent so much money for him to go to school, and now he's like living in his house just playing video games. He has friends at the NSA. He can get him involved, that kind of stuff. No, his son's just like, Dad, you don't get it. Like, video games is my life. Video games is my job. Well, luckily, before this becomes a full like parent speech, he gets a like alert that they found the IP address for the Disruptor. And he hits a "that was easy" button, like from Staples. He hits that button and it plays out, and it's just like, that was easy. Tell me about it. Like, he's having a communication with this easy button. So as he finds this IP address, it leads him to like 100 different places. So he's got to like try to figure out if there's a different way he can limit it to like one spot. And as that's happening, he gets a call from Mark. Mark is Faith's boyfriend, also the baby daddy, and he's like trying to get in cool with Pops, and which of course Will does not like. Mark is the like, you always know that your daughter deserves better kind of boyfriend. Mark delivers for Amazon. Mind you, this movie was on Amazon Prime. I just want that to be abundantly clear, because trust me, you're not going to be able to forget that. So Mark works for Amazon. Faith is his girlfriend, and you know, Will Will looks down on Mark. Will does not see what Faith sees in Mark. And Mark also kind of spills the beans that there's a baby shower. And Will learns that through him and realizes that, yeah, he was not invited to the baby shower. So, not good. And Will then goes to Facebook and finds that, yeah, there's a baby shower, all right. And also kind of logs into Faith's texts. Like he's able to get into her MacBook and see the text she sends. Mark apologizes for like spilling the beans. And Faith's just like, it's fine because he was going to find out one way or the other. At least now he knows that he wasn't invited. And my thing is kind of like, wow, you're going to text about him and know that he's probably going to see these things. Like, you don't have to be so blunt about it. But that's just kind of Faith's relationship with him for a lot of this movie. Faith is definitely like feeling neglected, or at least feeling like she doesn't know who her dad is. She definitely feels like he doesn't pay attention to her and is focused on her job, or his job and his job only. And then while Will is on Facebook, he also visits his wife's Facebook. She is unfortunately dead. And we learn later in the film that it was through a disease. And so for another time, he messages her Facebook Messenger and just says, "I miss you." And it goes, it can't be sent because the page, she's dead. So, yeah. So that's part of who he is at this point. When he finds the IP address, he gets a search warrant, and they are going to get the disruptor. This is the big day. They're going to get it. And Agent Jeffries is on it. And he also loops in Director Briggs. Director Briggs of DHS is played by Clark Gregg. What I've said at this point is basically Will has like a code for everything, and it just kind of calls things up. Like he hits Faith, and it pulls up everything around her. It pulls up Dave, and it pulls up everything around her. This one is Disruptor, which he just found out the Disruptors in Chicago not that long ago. How did he all of a sudden just have this code that knew, hey, it's going to be in this area? I don't know. If you get behind the tech of this movie, you are going to have a very bad time with it, especially because I think this movie is very much hacker voice, I'm in kind of movie, you know? It's a lot of type, I'm in, cool, great. So he pulls up the cameras in this area. He knows the building. He doesn't know the apartment yet. And so Jeffries asked for what apartment the disruptor is in. So he like accesses all these cameras in the apartments. And essentially they're like YouTube videos. Like there's a cat opening a door. And then in another one, it's two kids and one just hits the other with like a beanbag chair. And so it's just literally straight from YouTube videos that they've put in these apartments kind of thing. He also gets a call at this point from Sandra, but he ignores it because he's in the middle of this bust. And Sandra sends a video. She's reporting she's reporting a storm that has like these terrible CGI lightning strikes. Like it's literally a backdrop and they just kind of like overlaid these lightning strikes. It's really bad. Like it's abundantly clear that it was CGI lightning strikes. And so while that's happening, the team breaks into the apartment and they find that it's a decoy. The disruptor is not there. So they're all kind of disappointed. And then they start hearing noises and they see these things fall from the sky. And this is the big part of the War of the Worlds. These are the meteors with the aliens in them. So they're seeing it firsthand, and he starts getting like a bunch of notifications of like CNN, Fox News, like all of these things reporting on the fact that this is happening. And so he's like watching all these clips, and they're just saying these things have fallen from the sky. They don't know what it is, but they just crash. They're making these noises. And so this is also when he tries to get in touch with his kids, because now he knows something's happening. He needs to find his kids. Once again, he ignores Sandra's call because he's trying to reach his kids. And Sandra is able to not only text him like 14 times, but also she's able to like send a video. And it's a short time. Like I don't think they were showing that it was a time lapse or anything like that. It was a short period of time. And his building also gets hit, and he spills his coffee like, what the fuck? Oh my God, kind of thing. It's slapstick at its finest, pretty much. So he sends a message to Faith, but it fails. So he's like, once again, trying to find the cameras to find Faith. And he's not able to see where she's at right now, but he's able to like play back the feed and finds that she is stuck in her lab, like under her desk. So he gets a message out to Mark to help, basically says, you need to get here now. You need to help her. And then Will calls Dave, and he's able to get a hold of Dave and tells him to run down the street because Dave is out in the open. And Dave's running and everything like that. And all of a sudden the call cuts out. And a lot of people have been like TikTok posting about this, the fact that his son dies. His son doesn't die. This is the part where he thinks his son dies, and he just kind of like Ice Cube stares at the screen, just kind of like the kind of thing, you know exactly the face I'm talking about. He just kind of stares at the screen. He doesn't seem too distraught about the fact that his son may be dead. So after the call cuts out with Dave, Briggs has asked him to join this meeting with the Secretary of Defense, as well as with some other bigwigs and everything like that. And basically they are talking about they're at DEFCON 1 because they don't know what these things are. They need to figure out what they are, also if they're a threat and everything like that. And then Dr. Sandra Salas, Eva Longoria, calls in, and she goes to get close to one of the meteors. And she's talking about how like it's cold and everything like that. And one of the tentacles kind of like reaches out, and then her call cuts out. And we don't know what happened. So not only do we think Dave's dead, we now think Sandra's dead. Secretary of Defense on the golf course is just like, oh yes, this is definitely DEFCON 1. So Director Briggs asked for Will's analysis of the situation and more of the threat of it. And he's just like, yes, I'm on it. Then he mutes the director to take a call from Jeffries. And this is where we get like the first sight of the aliens, because the meteor kind of splits and they form these like robot tripods. And I'm not joking. What does he say? Oh my God. And not only is it like, oh my God, it's like, oh, screen, my screen, God, screen. There it is, the tripod. So Jeffries is wondering what to do, and he's basically just like, run away, get out of there, get safe, that kind of thing. And Dave finally calls back, and now he's like, okay, Dave's alive, good. So he answers, and Dave's just like, I know exactly what this is. I know what's happening and everything like that. And Will's just kind of like brushing him off and just says, stay safe. You don't know what's going on. Just stay safe. And hangs up on him. So he goes back to the Jeffries call, and these aliens play like this loud ass noise, this like kind of thing. And after they play the noise, one of them fires a laser, destroying a helicopter. And they keep firing these lasers, just pew, pew, pew. And one of the beams kills Jeffries. Jeffries gone. We actually see this happen. She's dead. She's done. Signal goes out. She's gone. So now Will is like going through all of the attacks that he's seen, and he's basically making like this spreadsheet of his analysis. He's like clipping off pictures, he's clipping off clips, and putting it into the spreadsheet saying what's happening, where they're attacking, what they're doing. And after he had like finished a couple of this, they actually showed like time passes a little bit. Faith finally calls back. She is outside trying to get away, and Mark never showed up. And so it's like this complete shaky cam of her running away, and you can see that like there's a thing behind her, and it shoots at a helicopter, and this helicopter comes just and it's coming towards her, and you see just shaky cam of her trying to run away, and she's like, oh shit, kind of thing. And the call doesn't end, but we don't see her. We have no clue where she is. We don't know if she's alive. And we see one of the aliens like walk over the phone, like walking away. And so Will just hits another couple keys, and he has a heart monitor on her. and can just call it up whenever. So we can see that it's elevated, but she's still alive. Like she's still kicking. And she like picks up the phone and then shows that she has like this piece of rebar through her leg. And so Will's like, I'm coming. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you out of there. And so he tries to escape DHS, but because it's DEFCON 1, he's on lockdown. And so he can't escape. And like he can hack anything in the world, but he can't hack his own lockdown. And so while on the phone with her, she just basically like, she's like dying at this point, and she still kind of burns him. She's like, the irony, right? You never want to leave that place, and now it won't let you leave. Like, okay, Jesus, you're dying and you're still going to take pot shots at your dad? Like, this might be the last thing you say to him, but you know, whatever. So he goes back to his computer, and he's able to find a Tesla that's right near her. And he can hack it, open it, and like get it to drive to get her to a hospital. So he like opens the back door. She's like running towards the car as fast as she can with a piece of rebar in her leg. And she's able to jump in. He closes the door and drive away before another one of those tripod aliens is able to like step on the car. So while he's trying to figure out what hospital to send her to, he starts seeing that like all of the hospitals are full. So he instead sends her to a DHS field office, and he also tries to apologize to her, like about the fact that he doesn't take time for her much anymore and that kind of stuff. And she's not taking it. She's like, this is shitty timing. No, Dad, I'm not taking this right now. Like, and basically what she throws in his face is that he thinks he has too much power. He thinks he's going to like raise these kids to be the best. He thinks he was going to save the mom from her incurable disease. And he thinks he's going to save the world. And like, she's convinced, she's like, no, you don't have the power to help anyone. And like, once you realize that, then maybe I'll listen to your apology. Again, she's like really cruel for somebody who might be dying and who just got helped into a Tesla to save her life. And instead of answering, he kind of like looks at the systems and realizes like her phone's at 2% battery and that the Tesla also is at low battery. And so he like turns off the cameras and stuff and just has it drive her to the field office and like texts her and says, okay, like you have low battery, like conserve everything. I'll see you when this is all over, kind of thing. And then he just hacks into Mark's Amazon mobile, or like his maybe it's cell phone. It's not obvious where he hacks into, but he hacks into something and just is like, okay, you're going to go to her. She's here. Go find her and go help her. So Mark's like, yeah, Pops, I'm on it, and like drives off. So now like all this stuff is happening. But instead of like trying to help people or help others or like figure out what's going on or send his threat assessment, he's working on an email to Faith and to like apologize and say how hard it is to be a dad and that kind of stuff. He doesn't send it, but he just kind of like writes his thoughts down and everything like that. Meanwhile, another call comes in, and it's Sandra, and she is somehow alive. And she's able to send video about how it's like a news report from BBC about how they attacked the satellites like in the sky, so they couldn't see it coming that these things were coming. And okay, I'm not a tech person. I'm not like good with any of this stuff. My question is this. So they were able to like attack the satellites, and then they came in for their attack. How did they get like nothing about the satellites crashing out? Like they got absolutely nothing about, oh, these satellites are broken and everything like that. Am I wrong here? Like, I don't think it's that crazy that they would have an alert when their satellites go down. Maybe, but I don't think it's that crazy. I don't know. So that's what happened. Now that like Sandra has sent him this and that he's been able to focus a little more, he now calls Briggs back, and Briggs also happens to be in a Zoom meeting with the president of the United States. And even though he's like barely focused on the actual problem, Will was able to like present this spreadsheet and all these attacks and everything like that. And he thinks that he knows where they're going next. They're going to attack the nuclear power. That's what he thinks. And so the president says, okay, well, let's get these guys. Let's initiate this war of the worlds to save us all. Roll credits. And this keys a montage of just like a bunch of footage of like Army preparing and Navy preparing and that kind of stuff. None of it looks like it's happening right now. It all looks like it's footage from other things or like from other movies even, where it's just like, okay, cool, they're locking in together and they're getting ready. And the news announcer even says, a war of the worlds to save humanity. And this is like my favorite part because he's like flipping through these attacks and he's like tough talking them. He's like, take your intergalactic asses back home, back home. Like he's tough talking this footage that's happening. And it's honestly fantastic. It is when Ice Cube's at his best, just being absolutely ridiculous like this. So the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and Space Force are all attacking these tripods, and it's looking like, okay, cool. We might have a chance against this. They're holding their own. They are, it's not quite so crazy that we might have a chance to beat these guys. So while these fights are going on, I am going to take a quick break. We've got a podcast to shout out that guessed the bad movie correctly, as well as you may have noticed at the beginning of this episode, we do have ads again. Let me just be frank with you on this, guys. We got approached by iHeartMedia a while ago to add ads to our stuff. Our numbers went way down when we started doing this. And I stopped doing it because I thought that it would be more important for people to listen than for us to get paid for people to listen. I think that was a fair statement. When I stopped, our numbers didn't go back up. And a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that it's a lot of me on these episodes, just solo and everything like that. I really, really hope to get a permanent co-host here shortly, where it's not just hearing me talk about these bad movies. I love doing it, but I can tell you it's not as much fun as what it was when I was talking with friends. So we'll see what happens. But because our numbers didn't go back up, I put the ads back in. And I'm not thinking we're going to make millions of dollars. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm very realistic with this. I pay for our RSS feed. I pay for our editing software. Could I do it for free? Yeah, probably. But this is kind of like if I do episodes and I get enough people to listen, this is just covering costs. We're not making money off of this. This goes straight to the podcast, everything like that. So if you guys are listening and you do hear these, thank you guys for listening in anyway, and thank you also for listening and putting up with these ads. I shoot for about an hour episode, so that's about 6 ads, 2 in the beginning, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the end. And I always encourage people, skip those 2 at the end. You guys don't need to listen to it. I'm tired of it at that point. Once I say goodbye, tune it out. Go to our next episode if you want. I appreciate it if you do. So you are going to hear some ads again. We are back with the ads. I apologize, but like I said, that's kind of the idea, was just a little more break even. So I've been spending a lot of money on this podcast. This is hopefully to not upset costs. It's to get a little more break even. So thank you guys for hearing that long-winded explanation. I know I deserved to give you that explanation. So, okay. For the podcast that guessed it correctly, it is our friend at Your Next Favorite Movie podcast. Is Josh G. He's not podcasting as much anymore, but I highly recommend. He is still very, very active on Letterboxd. He is a great follow on Letterboxd because he's always seeing movies. Literally, just looking at some of his X/Twitter stuff, he is posting a bunch of like top 4s, recent activity, what did you watch this weekend, that kind of stuff. Highly recommend following him on Letterboxd. You can also find them on X/Twitter/ whatever the fuck we call it. It's at YNF Movie Pod. Josh, thank you again for always participating in these guessing games. I'm happy to shout you out anytime. So thank you, Josh. Your next favorite movie podcast. You can find them on Letterboxd, your next favorite movie. So thank you, Josh. We appreciate you. I'm going to take a quick break. You're going to get those 2 ads, and then we will be back with the rest of War of the Worlds. And we are back. Thank you very much for tuning in and sticking through those ads. Like I said, it's just to cover costs of the price of putting together this podcast. So thank you guys very much. Okay, so we are at DEFCON 1. There is a War of the Worlds that is being initiated by the President of the United States, the Army, Navy. Everybody is fighting these tripods. We don't care about all that. We care about what's happening with Faith. So Will once again tries to see where Faith is. He sees the Tesla footage. It's an empty car, and there's just a bunch of blood in the backseat. And then he's looking through the hallways of the DHS field office through the cameras, and he just sees like blood everywhere. He tries to call Faith again, but he is not able to reach her. So he focuses on the next best thing, which is the actual problem at hand, the actual War of the Worlds that is happening. And through Sandra, he has found out that they make a sound every time they change direction, not to communicate, but because they are actually looking for something. It's like an echolocation kind of thing. So they make these sounds, and he's able to detect where they're going. And he finds out that they are going to a data center. That is where they are going. As soon as he figures this out, Dave calls him. And Dave has this conspiracy theory about Goliath. And he is like, he knows this is what they're trying to do and everything like that. And Will, once again, brushes him off. Your crazy conspiracy theories. There is no Goliath. There is no nothing. You're being lied to. So he kind of just hangs up on Dave. And Dave is once again like the red-haired stepchild of his children. And Sandra calls him again at the data center. And though one of the tripods is down because of like a missile, it still seems like it's alive. And it's extended its tentacle into the data center. So she starts following it. And she gets to the actual data center and is able to see like it's kind of like into all these systems. Will pulls up like a feed of all the data center stuff and notices that it is downloading stuff. It is getting all of this data and it is downloading. And while this is happening, Sandra once again gets attacked by something and her call drops out. There's a lot of get attacked by something, call drops out, that kind of thing. And that's pretty much the entirety of this movie. Anytime anybody's in danger or anything like that, the call is going to drop out. You just know it's going to call out or it's going to drop out. A bunch more reports start coming in, CNN, Fox News, that kind of stuff. And as Will is watching them, basically this data that it has been able to gain has given them control over like the military planes and boats and stuff like that, GPS systems, and it's able to like crash the planes. It's able to knock the boats off course. And so now they have like no advancements to fight with. And so it's all come down to manual warfare. Like this is going to be boots on the ground, just shooting at them. There's no real like availability of planes. There's no availability of boats. They can still use tanks, but even the tanks, it's just kind of like, okay, we can't get them out there that fast. So they have the tech advantage on us. Like these tripods, they now have the tech advantage. And they are just taking out like millions of troops. And we see like a casualty number. We also see a number of like how many tripods are getting destroyed. And it's like tens of thousands per like one or two tripods getting taken out. It's obvious we are getting our ass whooped by these tripods. And once again, Sandra, she somehow survived and she calls back. And she is able to basically, she found the little things that are taking up the data, and she found like kind of how they work, and she's showing Will like how these little creatures work. It's little tiny spider-like things, and she's able to show that they like crawl towards the data and they just start like sucking it up. And she's interrupted by the fact that Mark calls him, and he has just reached Faith. And Faith like an idiot, has removed the rebar from her leg. And so she is very much bleeding. She is not okay. Her heart rate is super elevated. And basically, Will's just like, you got to wrap that up, Mark. You got to get a tourniquet or something. And what does Mark do? In true Amazon style, he gets his trusty tape gun and he just starts tying up the wound. And it works. It stopped the bleeding. The tape has worked. Amazon saves the day once again. Also, we see that the data now is getting, besides the military stuff, it's getting to other things like oil rigs are combusting. There's these planes that are crashing, including one that just kind of like, it's like obvious CGI turn where it's just like the same plane, but it just kind of goes sideways and falls to the ground, and we don't see it crash or anything, but it's just like, and then power grids are crashing as well. There's mass rioting and looting because our money is worth nothing anymore. So people are just like stealing what they need and that kind of thing. And he also realizes that all of the data is going away and he only cares about one thing. That recording his wife sent him on Facebook that said he needs to take the trash out, but she loves him. The last recording that he has, it gets erased. And then the page gets erased. 404, page not found. He just yells, fuck! And he throws his glasses and he like starts closing tabs, but he leaves one tab open. And when he clicks this tab, somehow his glasses are like back up on his face. It's real bad. Like it is blatantly obvious that he threw those glasses and then all of a sudden they're back. And that tab that he didn't close was the Disruptor's live stream. And this Disruptor is talking about how if the invaders get Goliath, they're going to send us back to the Stone Age. And for some reason, they didn't think to do this earlier. They're doing it now. For some reason, he decides he's going to take like a vocal imprint of the Disruptor. He's going to run it through a vocal decryption and try to see, because it's one of those like, I am anonymous. You cannot figure out who I am. I am going through a voice changer. Like that kind of thing. And so he takes it and he puts it through the decryption. And shocker, I know this is going to be hard to believe, the Disruptor is Dave. Oh, bum, bum, bum. So, of course, Will is pissed, and he calls and immediately starts yelling at Dave. How could you be the Disruptor? You know I work for the government. You're trying to dismantle it. How dare you do this, and this? And basically, like, Dave's just kind of like, Dad, you've been lied to this whole time. Like, the government doesn't care about you. They've been lying to you. And Will doesn't want to hear any of it. And so he hangs up. But then Dave is able to send him a whole file on Goliath. And like, this is a huge file. And he's able to send it like that. It takes almost no time. And it's on his desk. And Will messages him and says, I don't care what's in that file. It's not going to get me to believe that you were right in this. And then he starts going through everything. And it's like all these like clippings and stuff. And he realizes that the government has been lying the whole time. They knew about Goliath. They knew that these creatures might come in and try to steal all this data. And what's even worse is that Briggs was the one that was behind this whole thing. And this is why he wanted to catch the Disruptor. He wanted it to not come out that Briggs was the one in charge of launching Goliath. And he also learns that Goliath is 40 feet below him in the DHS building. And so Will calls Briggs and he lets him know that he figured it out and that he's being lied to. And Briggs is just kind of like, at first, like, I knew I hired smart people. I knew you'd figure it out eventually. Like, he's playing it nonchalantly and everything like that. And he's like walking back to his office. He's not quite in there yet. He's walking back to his office. And Will's just kind of like, no, people need to know. I'm going to get this stuff out there. And Briggs goes, well, thank you for your service, Mr. Radford. No, you won't be doing that. And now he's taken away all of his access. So what is Will going to do? He doesn't have access anymore. He can't access all his fancy code words to get all the CCTV footage and everything like that. What is he going to do? Well, luckily, there's somebody that happens to have a set of skills and is able to help Will get all of his access back. And that person is Dave, or the Disruptor. And so his son lets him back into his computer, and Will celebrates by yelling, "Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown." I love all of these things that he just does, because it's so Ice Cube. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's not good in the script at all, but he just elevates it slightly in the fact that it makes it funny, or it makes it more relatable, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's just me and liking Ice Cube for this ridiculousness. Mark was able to send a video that he just got access to, and basically says that Faith is all better, so they're good now. And Will calls Dave once he's like all up, and they're going to figure out how to attack. How are they going to attack the tripods and save Goliath from getting access? Because Briggs is just kind of like brushed on their table. He says it's airtight. It's 40 feet below ground. They're not going to be able to get to it. But Will and Dave both know that's bullshit. And so they come up with this idea of a rabbit virus. And essentially, in layman's terms, and this is from the movie, I don't actually know what a rabbit virus is, but essentially it's like it hits one spot and then it multiplies and then multiplies and multiplies and multiplies, like how rabbits have sex and stuff like that. It's not quite that way, but that's kind of the idea. And so Will's just like, I'm going to call on my buddies. I'll get them to make this virus. And Dave's like, your buddies all suck. I've got my friends. And so he gets his friends to help. And it's like 5 of them. And like they all have names like Starfire, Thelma and Louise, Burnout, and like just lame names to protect them. And they all have like the Disruptor cloak and blackface kind of thing over their image, so you can't actually see what they look like. So that's what they're doing right now, and it shows that time passes. Like, it's not just, okay, we made a virus. Although I do think it's only like a 30-minute period that they do it. And while they're doing this, because Will has nothing to do, he essentially takes the info Dave gave him and makes like this whistleblower video and puts it on the Disruptor page, where it all gets out there about Briggs. It all gets out there about the Goliath program, that they all knew about it, everything like that. And then he reveals his face as the Disruptor, like Will revealed himself as the Disruptor, and that he is like this whistleblower. And all of the other Disruptors are like, your dad's an OG. He's so cool and stuff like that. So while they're like uploading this virus together, this data then gets swiped. And basically, not only do the tripods are they able to figure out where Goliath is, they now also know where the Disruptors are, and they're going to attack them. And so all of them get attacked, like one by one, including there's a viral video of like Waffle falls over and then it causes like this explosion on the screen, and it says like directed by Michael Bay, that kind of thing. So one of them, it's that fire effect. Like, it really is that bad fire effect. Like, it is on there and it kills Starfire. And that's the only reason I'm going to remember it, is because of fire and Starfire. Also, Dave gets attacked, and like Will's house is completely burned down, and Dave's footage cuts out. And so he's like, Will is looking at all the drones and stuff around his house. He sees that the house is like completely obliterated, and he can't see any signs of Dave, and he's just hoping he's alive and everything like that. And then he gets another call from Dave. And Dave's been at Brian's house. He was bouncing his signal around, so he really wasn't there. And he had like a fake background behind him, and he like removes it so he can see that it's Brian's house and stuff. And Will is like pissed at him. He's just like, why couldn't you have made Brian's house explode? Why did it have to be mine? So while they're like having their moment, happy that Dave is also still alive, Sandra calls them, and she tells them that these spider things are like alive. They're not just cyber. They have like blood. And so the virus wasn't going to be able to work on them because it was just attacking like the virus stuff, but they're still alive. And so they need to figure out how to also kill the alive component of them. But luckily, one of Will's children is a tech genius. The other one happens to be a bio genius. And so they call her and get her involved. And so Will wants to reach the defense secretary to let him know that what the plan is. They're going to upload this virus and everything like that. But he's in a Zoom meeting and he can't be reached. So, of course, Will does some hacker stuff and gets into the Zoom meeting. And in this Zoom meeting, the Secretary of Defense announces that they are going to blow up the DHS building. Because if they blow up the building, Goliath will be buried and the things can't reach it. Those tentacles were going pretty much wherever they wanted. I don't know how you just think it's going to be buried and it's going to be just fine. But I am not a tech pro. Again, remember. So because of this, they have shut down like almost all of the power to DHS. And not all of it, but like it's on backup reserve power kind of thing. They've taken everything out. And so they can't just attach the virus. They need somebody to do it manually. And Will's going to do that. The issue is now we've learned that they devoured data. So it's not just the virus data. It's also going to devour like the bio data from Will. So it's a suicide mission. But Will's willing to do it because somebody needs to stop this War of the Worlds. He doesn't say that, but God, he should have. And so they need it on a thumb drive. And of course, Will doesn't have a thumb drive because he works for DHS. You can't have a thumb drive in the building. And so Mark does. He happens to have one. And he says, send him the virus. He's going to upload it. And then he has Amazon Air and he can deliver it. He needs Will to make a purchase so he can use this drone to send it through the like tripods and everything like that, the aliens, and get it to Will. The power of Amazon is going to save the world. That is what this all comes down to, the power of Amazon. So Will's just like, all right, cool, do it. I'm going to run down to the server room. And like he calls back in. I'm running down to the server room. You got to get that to me. You guys are my eyes and ears. So Sandra and Faith, you're going to tell me where to go and what to like avoid and everything like that. Dave, you're going to protect the drone. And Mark, you focus on getting that drone and that flash drive to me. So they basically the team's all together. The aliens are on their way to DHS, and so are the bombers. They are about 8 minutes out. Sandra is now the clock for when the bombers get there. Faith is going to be watching the cameras and stuff, and Mark's going to be watching the drone, and then Dave is using like a Reaper drone to protect it. So he's like firing like these missiles at the tripods and stuff just to like take their attention so he can get the drone around. And so after like distracting a couple tripods, the drone gets hit and it gets knocked down. And it's upside down. It's in turtle mode. It can't get up again. And so they see this homeless guy, and Will's just kind of like, oh, find out his cell phone number and see if he can flip over the drone. And Faith's just like, he's homeless. He's not going to have a cell phone. And Will's just like, everybody has a cell phone. So they get this guy's cell phone number through Faith just being able to replicate Will's hacking ability. And originally she's like, hey, the government will give you free internet access for a year if you're able to help us. And he's like, so they can spy on me? He's like texting back to Faith on this thing. And then Mark goes, no, just like offer him $1,000 Amazon gift card. Offers him the gift card, and he goes and flips the drone. So now they're able to get it back in the air. And then Dave crashes a Reaper drone into one of the tripods, not only killing it, but blowing up a hole in the building so that he's able to get the Amazon Air drone in. And it kind of does like some stunts around building and everything like that. And while this is happening, Will is in the server room, and like one of the tentacles gets in and it like trips him. but he's able to like punch it and knock it out of the way and goes, "Move, bitch, get out the way." Still so corny. It's so good. The drone is like out of signal and out of battery, but it still manages somehow to like get to Will. Will's able to catch it. He gets into the server room by having Faith like watch the playback loop on the code for the server room. He's able to get in, and basically he's being attacked by these things, but he also is like, "All right, Goliath, dinner time," and like reaches for it, and we don't know what happens. Except for the fact that the machines start dying. He's able to load the cannibal code, and this thing is spreading to all the tripods, and they all start collapsing one at a time. And it's just in time because the pilots are getting there to blow up DHS, but they get the last second, like 3 seconds left. Abort, abort, abort. And everything goes black. And then as it comes up, it's Faith logging into her computer, and she finds that she received an email from her dad. And it's to Faith and Dave. And it includes this whole speech about like, it's hard being a parent. I love you guys. I held on just a little too long, but when your mom died, I just wanted to protect you. And it kind of shows like the things that are happening, like the achievements of the family, how she's like this brilliant bioengineer now, how Dave was part of the disruptors that saved the world, how Briggs was getting arrested for violating the First and Fourth Amendments, and then Sandra was announced as the lead of NASA. And then we get to another computer screen, and it's the Secretary of Defense calling in, and the screen is like the disruptor screen. And the Secretary of Defense calls in, and as soon as it's answered, Will's there. So Will survives. And the Secretary of Defense is just like, "Agent Radford, I wanted to thank you for your achievements and your service. We want to start a new Goliath program that is not as invasive and doesn't take as many people's data." And Will is just kind of like, there's more important things to do than see what's in people's Amazon carts. And then it kind of shows pictures of him at the shower, like seeing his family, and he hangs up on the Secretary of Defense. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. That is War of the Worlds 2025. I know what you're thinking. Mike, that doesn't sound that bad. I mean, yeah, it had its cheesy moments, but it doesn't sound that bad. This thing was bad. Real bad. Like real bad. Let's just start with the acting. The acting is terrible. It's like either it goes one of two ways. Either it's soap opera acting, or it's like in certain situations, it's not how you would act. Like Faith dying and being mad at her dad like this, I don't think that's how you'd act. I think she'd be a lot more scared, that kind of thing. I think she'd be a lot more like gripping on and everything. I don't think she'd be as cold-hearted, but maybe that's me. When you want somebody to be serious, they are not Ice Cube. That is not the person you want to be serious, because it's either him just like staring blankly at the monitor, or like when his son died, he just stares blankly at the monitor. Or it's just he can't handle things other than saying like ridiculous lines like, "Move, bitch, get out the way." That was probably one of my favorite parts. It's so stupid. It's so bad. And it just made me laugh hysterically. And I don't think I'm supposed to be laughing that hard at that point. It's ham-fisted with its theme of like privacy good, technology bad. It tries so hard to be smart, and the issue is they never explain anything. They just kind of like say, "Oh yeah, they're feeding on the data, and what are they going to do with that data? Well, I don't know. The military, oh, it lost its GPS and stuff, and now the planes are crashing. We don't know why, but it's because it's just GPS. But now they're crashing. Oh no! Oh God! Oh no!" And that's the level of what it is. I was saying that I feel like this script was written by AI. And if it's not, it's written by two people that thought they were a lot smarter than they were. I will give it some credit. I think it's an interesting idea to do like this screen movie kind of thing. I've seen it done, and there's a lot of movies that can do it very well. This could work like that, but this was not it. And that was the problem. They missed on every aspect of it. I thought it was a cool idea that it was all being told through the computer screen and stuff like that. I think that's an interesting idea. But the issue is, too, when you do that kind of story, and especially with somebody that's kind of like an NSA, DHS kind of person, what gets tough is then that person needs to be able to get things right away, because that's not how the world works. That's especially in times like this where technology was going to be down. You can't get things immediately. Like he gets a code to a Reaper drone like that. Like it's right away. And he has to ask for support to do it. I think support is probably going to be busy with a lot of other things right now. They're not just going to get you a Reaper drone. But maybe, again, I'm not an expert at this. I just think that's probably the case, though. And so that's the kind of thing. It's an 1.5 hour movie, and a lot of things have to happen quickly. And so a lot of this is just, okay, I'm going to hack in, and I don't need anything else. I'm just going to hack in. They had this like password encryption thing or password encoder that they just kind of like put something in, and they're able to get a password to almost anything. And it's like super quick, like boop, boop. Okay, we found your password. Here it is. That's definitely another part of the problem with this is, A, I don't know if Ice Cube is the hacker type. And B, the fact that everything is at his fingertips. He just needs to type a code and he gets all these cameras in the area. He gets all these drones in the area. I don't see that. I have to suspend a lot of belief or disbelief for that to happen. And I just don't see it. I don't see it. I can't suspend that much disbelief. And so that already is a huge strike against this movie because that's majority of it. Majority of it is like, I am facing a problem. I need something. Okay, I'm in. And that is the hardest part for this movie. And then on top of it, you get to the mediocre acting. You get to this terrible script. And you get to these effects that are absolutely awful. Like a lot of this is just footage that they just edited and made it into the movie. The army preparing to fight these tripods. I have seen those clips before. Like I know I have. And that is probably a worse sin, is the fact that not only did you take footage from somewhere else, it's somewhere that you probably have seen before. And like, I can't put my finger on it and say it was from this point exactly, but I feel like I've totally seen it before. And so to just like throw that into the movie as a hodgepodge kind of thing, yeah, that's not great. That's not good. The fact that they had like YouTube videos for the apartments that they were trying to find the disruptor in, that was stupid as hell. You're not going to get into these people's lives and it's just going to all of a sudden be a short video of a kid hitting another kid with a beanbag chair. I don't think that's the way it's going to be. So it's just, this movie was tough on a lot of aspects. And I get totally why people are saying this is the worst movie of the year. Because it is. I don't think there's a single movie I can think of that was worse than this movie that came out this year. It's high on my list of bad movies. Like it's definitely one of the worst ones I've seen. I think I've seen worse, but it's close. I mean, it's probably top 5 worst movies I've seen. And it's just because it's so stupid and it's so, I don't know what to even call it. I want to say it's disappointing, but it's not disappointing because like we all saw where this was going. We all saw that a War of the Worlds movie starring Ice Cube was coming out. And I'm sorry, Ice Cube. It's not anything bad about you. Stick to comedies. Stick to action movies like Triple X. Like that. I can enjoy you in those. And like even some of these, I enjoyed some parts of it because it was just the stupid Ice Cube thing. But in this movie, it just does not work. I can't have you think your child dies and you just look at the camera like, kind of thing. I can't do that. I can't. I can't get away with that. That's probably the biggest disbelief of this whole movie, and I can't suspend that. So, yeah, this movie's a 0. I'm gonna flat out say it is a 0. I never want to see this movie again. I can't find anything redeeming. I told you already. I mean, I think it's an interesting concept. If you had it through a better way, I think you could have done it better. But yeah, this movie is a dead 0. I'm not giving it the Mitchell 0. It is a dead 0. 0 out of 5. Hacker codes. That's what I'm going to give it. Pure trash from beginning to end. The only positive about it was, one of the only positives is that it was an hour and a half. So good. I didn't feel as bad afterwards saying this movie could have easily been 2 hours. And it also could have been R-rated with them just throwing in a bunch of fucks. I wouldn't have been surprised by that either. But thank God they didn't do that. So there we go. That was War of the Worlds from 2025. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I appreciate all you guys. I'm happy to watch bad movies for all of you. Surprise, surprise, I'm actually recorded ahead of time on next episode. So I may be sending something out to get ready for next episode because I might finally be ahead of this shit. I am way behind half the time, but this time I might be ahead of it. So good news. Yay. I'm going to be prepared for the next inevitable War of the Worlds. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening to the Game for a Movie podcast, where we ask, are you game for a movie? I've been Mike, your host. I will see you next time on the Game for a Movie podcast. Bye.